Welcome to the Real Estate Reserve Podcast. I'm Jason Balin from Hard Money Bankers. Sitting next to me, Ian Horowitz from Equity Warehouse. If you are a first-time listener, welcome. I promise you we're going to have a lot of fun, and you will get a lot of tidbits out of this. If you are a frequent follower, frequent listener, frequent viewer, welcome back. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you guys. Today, we have an interview that we're going to bring in here in a second. Michael Burns. We're going to talk about some businesses that he owns. Seems like he's got quite a few businesses that potentially generate seven figures for him. So I'm super excited about that. Someone that I'll let Ian do an intro here in a second. But I love interviewing new folks, different markets, learn a little bit about how they got into the business, what they're currently doing now, and just overall, build synergies and figure out kind of what's working for them in our current market.
Yeah, well, I can tell you what's not working is the cameras in our new podcast studio that we're trying to get resolved. We spent about 2.5 hours this morning trying to put it together. We can't seem to get it right. So if anyone knows how to hook up a Sony A7 to run as a podcast camera, please reach out. But that's the technical, but again, that's why we do this podcast. It's real life, real stuff, doing real things. Yeah, it's not real estate related, but it's content related, man. Like you got to go out there and try. And if you don't try, you're not doing right. I think when we play a golf tournament every year, a Hall of Famer, football player, he always says, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. But it's the same thing, man. If you ain't trying, you ain't doing. It's the same thing. Get out there and go do something. So thank God I'm here and I'm live, and we're almost, maybe then the next one we'll get the podcast studio completely in. But either way, man, we're in a little crazy market. Things are moving all the time. As you guys know, we like bringing in guests from all across the country, people that we have met, that we have relationships with. And a few years ago, I was invited to a mastermind with Stratton that he was hosting out in Salt Lake City. And I, being on the other side of the country, I was like, it's whatever. It's real estate. I was flying into Salt Lake. I'm thinking Salt Lake's some like podunk town. I think we've talked about this before. And meanwhile, I like show up and this place is like, this is Salt Lake's legit. It was crazy. But I met some really badass, ridiculous, crazy, just business minded people. And Mike Burns, who we're going to bring in here in a second, was someone that got up and spoke. And I mean, he just kind of spoke from the heart and just like, he got a lot of stuff going on, but he also like just dropped bombs, man, like straight bombs, talking about like lifestyle and talking about mental fortitude. And, he's been a part of some masterminds that we're going to talk about here in a second. But yeah, you want to bring in Mike? I mean, no point in me doing it. Let's just have Mike explain what he's had going on over
Mike,
the,
Mike, how are you?
What's up, guys? How you doing? Appreciate you having me on the show.
Absolutely. Why don't we just start with just a quick background? Who you are, where you got started, things like that.
Cool, right on. So I live in Salt Lake City. I did my first deal in 2000. We bought it 2011, sold it 2012. But so we're flipping houses. I do about 30, 40 a year here in Utah. We got a rental portfolio. We're lending hard money, mortgage brokerage, doing just residential, anything residential real estate lending. And then we got a real estate brokerage as well with the lending. So we got lifestyle lending, lifestyle realty, and we're just out here hustling, trying to make it happen.
Awesome.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's a grind. And I think that was one thing that I think we talked about out there is, dude, like you got a lot of stuff going on. You got several big businesses. I mean, you got quite a few agents that work for you, quite a bit of loan brokers. Like what does your day-to-day look like, running those three operations? I mean, they are very intense operations, not only from what it takes to do a deal, but from the capital standpoint. Like what's your average day look like?
As you know, man, it's different every day. I try to control my mornings. So, it's 10 a.m. Mountain Time. So this morning I've been up, I read, I had my meal plan, went to the gym, hit a podcast that I listened to. And now here I am with you guys doing this one. So I really try to control the mornings and get my personal stuff out of the way, because if I take care of me first and I know I'm firing on all cylinders personally, mentally, physically, spiritually, then I'm going to be able to show up in business and in all my meetings and everything the best version of me. And that's really what I like to talk about, is like, how do you become the best version of you? And that's how that's going to spill over into life, business, and relationships. So that's how I start the day. And then as far as running the businesses, I have great people around me. My brother does pretty much everything with the loan company. I just bring business in. And then the flipping business, it's a little slower now because our market transitions so much, but typically we got 12 to 15 deals rolling at a time. And that's about 6 different contracting crews handling that. And it's just me and my assistant. So I don't have this big CRM. I get asked all the time, you know, what software do you use to manage your shit? It's called, this is what I use to manage my shit right here, man.
Hell yeah.
Fucking paper and a pen, and we just get it done. But it's everything for me is relationship based, man. So like a lot of my contractors have worked with me for, you know, my roofers have been with me since day one. A lot of these guys 3, 4, 5 years, and everything's just relationship based. So I got great people around me. And then on the flipping business, all our houses look the same, unless it's like a high end, you know, something that's a little different. Well, it'll be a little more custom, but it's the same paint, same cabinet, same countertops, all the same shit. So we've kind of got, once we've got contractors that are working with us and they do a couple of houses, they pretty much know, like, okay, this is what the texture looks like. This is what the flooring is. This is where we get it. So through repetition and just good people around us, that's how we're running everything.
So what business came first, and why did you start that business? And then what made you guys kind of expand into other lines?
Cool. Yeah. So I'll give you the backstory on that. Growing up, my parents had a business. They owned like a nursery or a garden center. So I grew up around that. And then my dad sold that business when I was like probably a freshman or a sophomore in high school. And I watched him take the money from, and I grew up in a small town too, like, you know, 1 junior high, 1 high school, had to drive 20 minutes to get to school. But my dad had a business in this small town for like 25 years. So he was super well connected, and it was just a phone call for whatever we needed. So that's why relationships are so important to me, because I saw that. But so he sold his business, and then he took the money that he got from it and he partnered with a general contractor who I had known my whole life, because he was one of our big customers, because he did landscaping and stuff too. And so basically my dad he went and bought a bunch of lots. So he brought the lot and fronted the money to build the house. And then Roger, the guy who was a contractor, actually built the house. And then my dad kind of learned what that process looked like. But they probably built like, I don't know, maybe 15 homes over the course of maybe 3 years, a couple of years. And then they sold the last one right as 08 was happening. So that's when, and then all of a sudden I start seeing, you know, mom and dad are buying a condo at the beach, sight unseen off the internet. And then we go to this condo that's on the beach, and mom and dad are, you know, they're just going in and buying shit for it. So I noticed a lifestyle change difference. Like, oh, they weren't just buying stuff like this and just furnishing it like no big deal before. And, you know, like life was a little different. So I noticed like, okay, well, it's the money piece. So that's when real estate got on my radar. But when you're 18 years old, it doesn't seem real that you can do it. So I got into the wholesale side of the nursery business. I was doing inside sales and really excelled at that. That's where I learned to do sales. And then I transitioned and went into like a 1099 commission only outside sales rep. So for a wholesale nursery out of Oregon. So I had exclusive rights to sell this guy's stuff in Western Canada, so British Columbia and Alberta, and then like 8 states in the Western US. So I moved to Utah from Oregon when I did that. And I went out and cold called probably 1,000 nurseries. And I wasn't old enough to rent a car, so I drove everywhere, and I'd sleep in my car. Like it was 10% commission only. I had to pay my own way. And I started with 0 customers. So that's kind of where I learned to do sales and cold calling. And then I'd probably spending about 6 months out of the year on the road. So I was gone all the time. My brother hit me up one week and was like, hey, are you going to be home this weekend? There's a free house flipping workshop coming. And it was Dean Graziosi, local, you know, that was the guru coming through town. Yep. So I was like, yeah, let's go to it. Cause I was super interested in real estate. I saw my dad make a bunch of money in it, but I just, again, when you're like 18, it's like, I didn't seem real. So we roll up to this house flipping workshop and we go to it. And then we end up spending, you know, $1,500 to go to the weekend course they're having the next week. And then they have the bus tour and all the upsells and shit. But that's when we started. So then I joined SLRIA, the local real estate investors association in Salt Lake. And we started going to all their monthly meetings, luncheons, any event that they had. Me and my brother, we went to it, and we just put ourselves in the environment where what we wanted to do was happening, which was flipping houses and wholesaling houses. And it took us a year and 94 offers. Say that again, because new people don't get it. It took 1 year of showing up to Slaria, every meeting they had, every lunch meeting, every seminar, everything. And we wrote 94 offers over the course of a year. And then we got our first deal. So that first deal, we flipped it. And we made like $24,000 on it. I thought I was rich, and I was like, "Holy shit, man! Real estate is more."
You were rich.
Yeah, dude. So I walked away from that brokering thing that I was doing. I spent 4 years building that up. I got it to about 550,000 a year in sales, and walked away from that and just jumped headfirst into real estate. So when we were doing that first deal, I remember over Christmas and New Year's, I pounded out the 120 hours is what it takes to get a real estate license in Utah. So in about 10 days, I did that. They'll only let you do 8 hours a day, but I learned at midnight, the clock resets. So I'd start at like 4 in the afternoon and I'd go till 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and I just smashed these hours. And then I went down and took the test, got my real estate license so we could save commissions on listing that first flip. But then also back then you could buy stuff off the MLS. So, I could make a commission if I bought a deal. So I got my real estate license, and then you get access to the MLS. So Utah's a non-disclosure state. So unless you have access to the MLS, you don't know what stuff sells for, which is awesome. It really makes realtors valuable versus other markets. So got my real estate license for that. And then we were flipping. And then I remember it was a Saturday afternoon. I was driving down one of the main streets in Salt Lake, and there was a for sale by owner open house going. So I pulled in, because back then, like anytime I saw for sale by owner, I'd pull over and knock on the door and go talk to him about it. So I'm talking to this guy, his name's Hem, and I couldn't pay him what he wanted for it. But I was like, well, dude, I'm a realtor. I could list this for you if you want. Shit, I'll even give you a deal on it. And he said, okay, that'd be great. And it was just like that, dude. I got my first listing. So I sold that. I did it for like 1%. I think I made $3,000 on the deal. But at the time, I had like 4 flips going, and a lot of them weren't going very well at all. And it was like the fall months. And when you're flipping, you've got all this money in, you've got you're leveraged, and you've got a lot on the line. And then I just made this real estate commission for $3,000. It took me 45 days. I had nothing but time invested. So that's when I was like, oh, well, being a real estate agent is pretty cool too, because now I can just make commissions and I don't have to have anything at risk. So then I was doing real estate agent stuff and flipping houses. And then fast forward a few years, the mortgage thing happened. So I had a guy that I met that I was at Slaria, and he's like, hey, dude, we've got way more business than we can handle doing these VA refinances across the country. You should come join my team and do them. And I was like, dude, I just got this real estate agent thing going. I'm at Century 21. I'm on a team. I'm closing a couple deals a month. Plus I'm doing 2-3 flips at a time. And I just didn't do it. So, but I was like, hey, my brother Tyler would probably be great for that, if you'd be interested. And so I set up a meeting with them. Fast forward 6 months, my little brother Tyler, who doesn't have sales skills developed like I do, is making $20,000 a month slinging loans. So I was like, I had that, and during that same time, I had like 4 buyers falling out of contract in like a week. So I was like, dude, fuck this real estate agent stuff. It's emotional, and these deals are falling apart. My little brother's making 20-25 G's a month. So I went over and got licensed to do loans. So then during the day, I was doing VA refinances, and I was licensed in like 39 states. And then I was flipping a couple houses at all times. And then I was also doing the real estate agent stuff. I had found another one of my buddies who was doing like normal mortgages, not refinances. We'd go in on marketing, and then he would work the leads. And then when he had a pre-approved buyer, he'd let me know, and then I'd go show him houses. So I was doing flips, mortgages, and real estate agent stuff kind of all at the same time. And this is probably 2015 to 2017, 2018. And then it's just kind of morphed into what it is now.
Yeah, I feel like most people would sit here and say, I mean, and we know there's a lot of people out there that like to talk shit and be like, oh, Burnsy's all over the place. He's got all this shit. And if he would have just concentrated on one thing, he'd be great. And I'm thinking, no, the man concentrated on what he's best at, relationships. And he figured out, all right, I got to learn the business. And then I'm going to go apply my relationships with my brother or with a contractor or with whoever. And then I'm going to be the point man. And then I have these people to help me do these businesses. But I like being the forward-facing person. So to me, I mean, I think you're concentrating on your highest and best use of your skill. And it's like, it's a no brainer. I think that's really smart. And I don't know, I'm sure in real time you don't recognize that. But then as you get more older and more mature and look back, you're like, all right, I used my relationship skills. I've used my sales skills to build these teams. And I think I'm just sitting here listening, and that's what I heard anyway. So, and I also think if you want to learn sales, it's a common theme. Just move to Salt Lake City when you're 18 or Utah in general, and you will become a salesman. You guys have some of the best salespeople out there, and I know some of it's because of the religion out there, and others it's just a way of life, man. It just seems like all the good salespeople come from that area. So,
well, yeah, dude, when you're 18 and they make you learn a language and send you somewhere you're not from and give you a Bible to go sell door to door, like you get real good real quick.
Yep. Yeah. We talked to Lame about that, actually, coincidentally, about, like, how do you learn sales? Yeah, go sell religion. I mean, Russell Brunson, right? Like we're big ClickFunnels guys, and it's like, dude, guy's a great seller. Yeah, well, dude, they put him on the road and said, go sell religion. Good luck, So
Yeah, no, all the solar companies and a lot of the door-to-door companies are all based out of Utah, and that's who they recruit. They get return missionaries who are like 20, 21, who are now going to college, because when in that religion, you graduate high school and you go do your mission before anything, and you have to pay for it too. So they save their whole life, go to the mission for 2 years, and then they come home and then they start doing school. So what happens is you got a lot of these return missionary guys, and they're going to school, so they do summer sales. So then they sign up with Vivint or some of these, solar companies, pest control companies, and they go sell all summer. So they'll go to whatever, Oklahoma for the summer, and then they just grind 6 days a week for like 4 months. They'll go make 100, 150, 200 grand, and then they come home and they're going to college. And that's where that breeding ground comes from. But yeah, dude, what you said earlier, man, I was just chasing opportunity. It's like I got plenty of time and a lot of hustle. And it's like, a lot of people who are doing businesses, when they want to expand what they do, is it's like, okay, well, what is another vertical that I could get into? And I didn't do that intentionally. It just kind of happened, So it's like, as we're trying to buy homes, if I'm dealing with a homeowner that's in a situation that needs to sell, but they don't like my cash offer and they're not willing to do, something on terms. It's like, okay, well, you're selling anyways, so you're not going to sell off market to investor, which means you're going to take it to market, which means you likely need an agent. So shit, I can do that. Oh, you're going to buy a new house? Yeah, we can do the mortgage for that too. So they're all kind of like vertically integrated. So a lot of times, we'll be double and triple dipping on deals, helping them with the loan, helping them buy, helping them sell, buying the shit from them. So it's just worked out well for us, but definitely not really an intentional thing. It just kind of happened.
No doubt. And related to like the market out there compared to, I mean, obviously you might not know how the market is in other areas of the country, but what are you guys seeing out there? Is fixing and flipping still kind of a thing? Or are you guys shifting to commercial buildings, multifamily, buy and holds? Like, what would you say in general? Like, what's the pulse on what's going on kind of on a macro level in the market there?
So Utah's been one of the hottest, depending on whose chart you're looking at. We've been a top 3 market in the country for the last 3 or 4 years. So like we were doing 20%, 30% year over year. So to put this in perspective, probably 4.5 years ago, the median price in Salt Lake County was $285, and it's like $605 today.
Jeez. God damn.
So I mean, just straight up, so, and when a market's running like that, and then you get, and then Freddie Mac upgraded Salt Lake to a primary market, I think 3 years ago. So that put us on the map, and like Utah's just been growing. And then all the tech that's leaving California is either going to Austin, Texas, or they're going to Lehi, Utah. So we have literally, if you were here 8 years ago, there's a city there now that didn't exist 8 years ago. This place called Lehi. It's known as Silicon Slopes, is what a lot of people know it as. So, okay. I mean, Adobe came in and built a $200 million corporate headquarters there. Like they're building office space faster than they can't build it quick enough. Porsche dealership, Audi dealership, nice restaurants, outlets, like literally an entire city has just been growing around this tech bubble that we've had coming. And then Utah's real big, like all the banks have offices here, all the credit card companies, every MLM company is here. So we're growing rapidly, but we're also really diverse. Like we've got a strong economy and people just keep coming. And then COVID hit and people started working remotely. And Utah's an awesome lifestyle place. Like any and everything outdoors is in Salt Lake. You were here, Ian, you saw the mountains. Yep. I mean, within 45 minutes of Salt Lake, you've got 7 major ski resorts. So it's just a cool place to live. And with all of those things going, it's just been blowing up. And then we've got all this outside business and tech money coming in. So the market's just been running. So everything's been on fire. Pick a sector, it's just been ridiculously overpriced and on fire. People buying, shit at 3.5 caps. So that's toned down a little bit. So I would say our market shifted the end of July last year, maybe August. And from the peak to where we are now, I think we're down, depending on where you're at, anywhere from 15 to 20%. So like I had houses that when I bought them, they were $600,000 ARVs and we sold them for $465,000. I had 425 houses that were selling for $340,000. I mean, so we took some pretty major losses on all the deals we were doing. So the market's picked back up, but last fall, like it didn't matter what the price was, stuff wasn't selling. Like I did $1,000 price reductions.
And was that after interest rates went up immediately? Like was that like literally caused because of that?
I mean, 100% because of interest rates, because our market was just topping out. We were running so hard. And then, we started the year 2022 with rates around 3.25, 3.5, and we finished the year around 7.
That's right.
So when you double interest rates in a market that's appreciating 20, 30% year over year, it capped out. So we experienced it earlier than a lot of markets because I'm in a bunch of groups and networking and all of that stuff. But we experienced it a lot earlier and a lot harder. Us and markets like Boise, because Boise was they were the primary market above us for a couple of years, and then we switched. But so the market's picked back up. Things are moving, multiple offer situations again, but the values aren't back to where they were. I think we're still down probably 10 to 15% on average.
Yeah, I mean, and they just raised another 0.25% a few weeks, whatever, was it 2 weeks ago now? And you got to assume that, well, we shouldn't assume anything anymore, but it seems like that it's slowed down a lot. Yeah, there's multiple offers in certain situations. Things are still selling, but like you said, there's the price retraction side with that. It should slow things down. And I don't know, man. It'll be interesting. I mean, so you guys get a lot of California overflow that's coming to you. Are you guys still seeing that, or some employers are forcing people back into the office? Are you seeing people bailing out and more Airbnbs in the area? I know it's kind of a resort area as well, so it makes it hard to figure out. But is it a lot of primary residents there, or people headed back to California?
So we've got like Salt Lake County. So you've got like the Wasatch Front. So we've got up north, you have Weber County, and then it goes to Davis County, and then Salt Lake County, and then Utah County. And that's just kind of one consistent corridor along the Wasatch Front Mountains. And that's all pretty much residential and just people living, doing their thing. But then you get up into Park City, and that's a big, Park City is Park City. That's a big tourist town. You've got canyons up there and Park City Resort. They came and got bought and were combined. So that's the biggest acreage resort in the world, if not North America. And then you've got Deer Valley, which is like millionaires hang out in Park City, and then the billionaires hang out in Deer Valley. So there's lots of big money up there. Like Park City blew up, especially through COVID. So there's, tons of new developments and communities up there where entries like 8 million, 6 million, $8 million bucks. And you got another place called White Pine, which is ski in, ski out, and you can't touch shit for under 12 million in there, and they just sell. So the market's just been on fire, man. And then a lot of people, through COVID, I think a lot of people who were in California or who were on the East, maybe the Northeast, New York, they all came out to Utah during that because kids could go to school and it just wasn't quite as populated and locked down, and people could just kind of get away a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, it all makes sense. I was a little here for a second. Obviously you got a lot going on. You're super knowledgeable. Like you said, you were part of a few groups. Like, when did you start jumping in? I know you were part of DM and Arte Syndicate and a few other like big type groups. When did you start getting involved with them and really paying for coaching and like going down that road, and like how has it helped your business?
I would say self-development has been the cornerstone foundation of my entire success in life and business. Me personally as a human, and just, my experience that I'm having as an individual, and then also business. So I would say, like, I did a lot of, going to Sloria, super involved with that. But my first out of state thing was I went to a Tom Hopkins seminar, sales thing in Vegas, and that was probably in 2014. And then I went to Grant Cardone's 10X. I went to the first 10X, and I think that was 2015-ish, 2016. And then ever since then, I've been consistently going to seminars, going to, just all sorts of out-of-state events. And then joining Arate Syndicate was in 2019. And that was the first, that was like $65,000 for the year. One-time payment, or you could do $6,000 a month. And that's the first time that I really invested some serious money on a networking group. And then I've been in the DM fam with Mark Evans for the last couple of years. I'm about to start my third year with them, and that's like $50,000 a year. So since 2019, but I've been going heavy on self-development, just starting with the first, book, which was Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And that was back in like 2009 or 10. So it's been a steady progression. But one thing that I realize is as you upgrade your information, it costs more money. The more that as you upgrade your information and as you learn more and you become more experienced, you need to upgrade the information, the people that you're around, and that just slowly is going to require you probably going out of state and continuing to invest more money in situations like that and getting in the right rooms. The network's everything, dude. Like everything.
I agree. And I think so many people don't fully get that. They don't fully get that. They don't grasp it. I remember Russell Brunson saying something when I was in his mastermind group that never really left, related to like the way that you grew your business from 1 million to 5 million is not the way that you're going to grow your business from 5 million to 25 million or 5 million to 50 million. And he's right. And so many people have been like, oh, well, we did this. All we got to do is just do this a little bit more. And, we've had, our hurdles in our business, right? Where it's like, cool. It's pretty easy. And then it's like, I can't get any further up. And you really gotta, it's completely different that way. And I think for all of us personally in our lives, it's the same type of stuff. Well, everything that you're doing currently is going to leave you, of what you're at currently, right? You're not going to get to that next level until you kind of take it to that next level. And that could be whatever, a new business coach, that could be a new consulting program, that could be a new mastermind, that could be just a new group of influences of people. And I think a lot of us, it's easy for us to kind of get to that first level where it's like, hey, I have a really good, profitable business that I enjoy and I do it. But to get to that next level, I just see so many people that are challenged by that, and they don't realize it's like, hey, you want to get to the next big level, like you need to do big things in order to do so. So it's interesting to hear that you're involved in so many different groups like that.
A couple things to comment on that. So I like to talk about environment, so really what you're saying is you have to change your environment. So what got you here, but also who got you where you're at is likely not going to be what and who gets you to the next level. But you constantly have to upgrade your environment. So if you're just sitting there making $100,000 a year, thinking you're, as Mark Evans says, king dingaling, because you're hanging around all your old friends and stuff, you think $100,000, yeah, I'm fucking crushing it, blah, blah, blah. But when you change your environment or you put yourself in a different environment where bigger things are happening, you have a new perspective, and now you have a new reference point of, oh, I'm not doing shit. These guys are doing that in a month. That's a bad month, and I'm thinking I'm crushing it in a year. So I think, changing your perspective and getting in a different environment is really kind of the only way that you're going to, because you only know what you know, right? You don't know what you don't know. So without seeing what's possible or without getting in a different environment, I think that's also why people get stuck. They just think, oh yeah, my business is doing good, and I've just tapped out. This is just what it is, because that's all that they know. So until you're willing to, change, or you're willing to get new information, that's why people get stuck.
Yeah, and I think another thing is, like, could you imagine if you joined a mastermind group that didn't align with your core values? It was like all lifestyle and minimalist and like, all right, I got enough to live, I don't need any more. You would fucking pull your hair out. Like, there's no doubt in my mind, because we're similar. All three of us are similar, of like, we want to grind and build a business and have growth. And we all need groups that follow along with that. And I think that's super important too. I listen to Andy's podcast literally every day. It's like the podcast that I listen to, and one other. And it's just like, dude, that mindset stuff, I couldn't imagine if you were in, like, what happens when a person ends up in the wrong group. They go down a wrong path really quick. And, you know, when you talk about like, oh, you're around your boys and you're king shit because you don't work all the time and you got just enough to survive, like those dudes are getting chewed up right now.
Yeah.
Find something that makes you uncomfortable and get out there and go do it. And I mean, neither of us, I mean, Jason has a hard money group and I have a small mastermind group, but we're not here selling that. That's not what this is about. This is about getting out there and finding the group that allows you to succeed and be with that group of people and succeed and have someone who challenges you. Like when Stratton's like, hey man, you want to come out to Utah and like come to my group? I was like, yep, no doubt in my mind. Like, I don't know anybody in Utah. I want to see what the West Coast is all about with real estate. And I got out there. I was like, shit, like I'm like cool back on the East Coast, but these guys are fucking crushing it. And I'm like, oh man, like I need to step my game up, dude. And I think that's important that people find the right group for what their core values are.
Yeah. And real quick on that, I agree that you have to leave your local area and kind of do stuff on the next level up, right? It's like, cool, I know everybody in town. I know the competition. I know whatever it is. And not that you're better than them. It's just, hey, we need to expand. And let's take this thing regional. Let's take this thing national. Let's take this thing worldwide. It's just like any operation, any business. You know, you gotta move to the next level when you're ready for it.
Well, and also like people, I think when they feel their competition is in the room with them, they're less likely to be open and vulnerable and share their secrets and their weaknesses and stuff too, because you're like, well, my fucking, like this dude's, you know what I mean? So I think also being in these different groups where people are like-minded, for me, it's created a space where you can be open and vulnerable and not have to worry about it. So I kind of like just taking myself out of my comfortable, normal environment altogether, because it just creates a different environment for you to grow, but be exposed to different ideas. And I think people are more open to sharing when it's like, you know, they're not giving all their secrets and tips to the dude that's in their backyard. So there's I think that's a lot of that contributes. And that's not being, I really want to focus on this too. That's not being having a lack of an abundance mindset by any means either. I mean, it's, you know, I'm open and I share contacts and all that stuff here in Utah. Like yesterday, I had a guy call me and say, hey, do you have a contact for this? And I sent it to him, no problem. But there's also the reality of that too. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to tell everyone in your market exactly what you're doing and how you're doing it, because then you're breeding your own competition, which is dumb. But people get caught up, I think, too, in the lack of an abundance mindset and don't want to share. And I think that's part of, you know, I know guys here that like, I got a buddy here that crushes it, man. And he could be in such a different scenario and situation, but he just wants to hold everything right here. Not going to share, not going to tell anyone anything, not going to ask for help. And he's doing awesome. But it's like, bro, if you would just like open up a little bit and put yourself in an environment, you'd be doing 10 times what you're doing.
Yeah, no, that all makes sense. And let's be honest here, like there's no, I won't say there is no, in real estate, there's not a ton of trade secrets. It's pretty simple, right? Like we're all going out there trying to find deals that make money in some way, shape, or form. There's ARV formulas if you're flipping, there's rental calculators, there's all this different shit. In the end, most of the time, it's just grit and determination. And I think that's what a lot of people share, and they find out that there is commonality. And yeah, there's some Google ads that you might be running or some trade secret that you want to hold near and dear to you. But then when you get in these other rooms, you're like, shit, that guy's doing that. That's not like that big of a trade secret. Yeah, I'm not going to tell people in my market, but I'm happy to exchange ideas.
Yeah.
And sometimes it becomes taxing. You know, it's like, I want to concentrate on my business. You know, it's like, hey, man, like I'll help you out this one time, but it's also got to be a give take. And it's when people pay, like you said, to be in a room, they're more willing to be open and abundant and talk about what's going on. And I mean, obviously coaching's changed your being a part of the mastermind group, shall I say, has changed your trajectory so much to the fact that I think I heard on one of your reels, you're like, man, I have a coach everywhere else in my life. Why don't I have a fitness coach? And I've been sitting on that comment that you made, and I'm like, God damn it. Like I was in the gym every day with a trainer, and now that I moved, I don't have one. I'm like, dude, the guy's so right. Like we all have coaches everywhere else in our life. I mean, top level athletes literally have coaches for everything, right? We all should have coaches. And I thought that was a really good comment, man. I enjoyed that reel. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah,
So
no, well, it's true, dude. I'm sitting there. I'm like, hey, I've got a life coach, kind of touches life and spiritual stuff. I've got Andy Frisella and Ed Milet with Arte. I've got Mark Evans, Sean Whalen, Albert Preciado, some of these different guys that I follow or I'm in their groups, go to their events and whatnot. And my biggest insecurity my whole life has been my weight. I've been like, I'm 5'6". I'm not a tall guy. The short thing doesn't really bother me, but I've always been, chubby. And that's for real been my biggest insecurity my whole life, like times 100 anything else. And the one biggest thing that I struggle with the most is the one thing that I was just, fuck it, I'll wing it, figure it out on my own. Like, I'm comfortable in the gym, blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, dude, like, you're not getting results. You're overweight. You're going to the gym 5-6 days a week, and you're just letting your ego get in the way. But at the same time, like, wanting to hold on to this insecurity story that I have. So, I get a trainer, and then I also go to my doctor and I get my blood work and start actually working on stuff and getting outside counsel and guidance. And you fast forward 18 months, I'm down 40 pounds. I'm in the best shape that I've ever been in. And it's like, I go 34 years trying to grind it out, figure it out on my own. And like, don't want to take my shirt off at the pool, super insecure. Now I'm wearing form-fitting clothes and I look good. I feel good. And when you look good, I promise you feel way better and your confidence is higher. And it's just, like that on that podcast or that reel, like that was literally kind of a realization of me. I'm like, what am I doing, dude? I'm spending $100,000+ on all this other stuff. And then the one thing that I want the most.
yeah. Yeah, man. Well, yeah, sometimes when you're the most embarrassed by it, it's the hardest one to let go of. I mean, I get it. I've struggled and, it's been up and down, but I agree, man. Like, as I've been less in the gym, I'm feeling like more shit's unraveling. I'm like, that's it. We're done. Got to get back in the gym, dude. 100%, man. So
one thing you said earlier that I wanted to just make a comment on too, is you said other people are willing to pay the price to be in the room. There's so much to be said for that. So like Arte, so for example, I've been to a lot of 10Xs, and even you buy a VIP ticket or you go to an event, you try and sit in the front, spend a little bit more money. The amount of bullshit and guys that are full of shit and faking stuff, who are maybe spending $5,000, $10,000 on an event or whatever, is way different than someone who's willing to ante up 50 G's for the year, 65,000 for the year. There's a huge difference in that. Like, that's more than just maxing out your American Express because you're hyped in the moment to go to an event. And what I've found is people who are willing to invest in a year-long commitment and put some serious money behind it, there's a level of person that attracts. So the core values are going to, for the most part, I mean, you still get shitty people everywhere you go, but like the core values are there and people aren't fucking around. They're serious. They're really investing in themselves and in their network. And that's been one of the biggest weeding outs that I think you could get to. And that's something that I like about it. So it's a high ticket price. But if you look at like, how much is a relationship worth to me? And that is a filter, for people to get into. That's one thing that I noticed too. So I know everyone in the DM group, they're solid, they're legit. Mark's vetted them. They're spending money on it. When it was Arte Syndicate, like they used to do it, like if someone's going to be in this room and I know what it took to get into this room, there's an instant credibility there. I mean, you still got to trust, but verify, but that really moved the needle a lot for me too, because a lot of people are just full of shit and they're fake and they're fronting and they're talking a bunch of stuff. And then you see what's actually going on. And it's like, you're just a really good marketer. You're not actually doing real business. And that's dangerous, man, especially when you start seeing all these guys, and there's all these syndication apartment deals. People raised a ton of money and all this stuff because they were good at marketing. And now they're not going to be able to get out on the back end. They won't be able to refi, fucking default on loans. All these LPs who put in money on these deals, they're not going to get their money back. And I just think there's a lot of that out there. And a lot of people are going to be exposed over the next 12 to 18 months because shit's hard now. Because like, dude, when everyone's winning, it's easy. But like when you're losing, that's the separator. Like, how do you handle adversity? How do you handle shit when you lose? Like, because that's when people's true character comes out and you see who people are. It sucks and it's unfortunate. So for me, the more that I can, vet people up front in the rooms they're in, that kind of eliminates a lot of potential bad people you're getting involved with.
Jason, I think he listens to our phone conversation every day. I mean, like, that's literally what we talk about, because it is a skill and it's something that you need like when you can raise capital or you're a really good marketer, it's almost like a weapon. Like you need to be careful and you know when to use it properly and how to utilize it for good and not for bad. It's almost like a superhero story, you know. It's like, oh, the bad guy got the superpower, you know. It's like, you know, you need to be really cognizant of what you're doing and when you're doing it and how you're doing it. And Jason and I'll let Jason comment on this because I've been doing all the talking. Sorry, buddy. We usually keep a word count going and we always have competitions, but you know, there are a lot of operators that are about to get exposed and it's really scary of what might happen. So,
well, Jason, and I'll maybe tee this up for you to talk about it, but so we do some hard money lending and I've got, you know, I probably had 7 or 8 loans out and a lot of them were in second position. But as our market shifted and people feel the pressure, it has fucking blown my mind how quick ethics, morals, your name, your word, any sort of good business goes straight out the door when there's just a little bit of pressure. I mean, I got guys willing to BK over 50 grand, you know, it's like, dude, I'm going to enforce this personal guarantee. Well, I'll just BK. So you could probably talk to that too, Jason, like when, you know, you really see people's true colors when shit gets hard. And you guys got money.
These times, very similar to, you know, 09, 2010, 2011 is when there's a lot of scams, there's a lot of fraud, there's a lot of guys that are just desperate. You know, they're used to making lots of money and their lifestyles at this point make them continue to make that money and there's not enough income for them coming in. So they're willing to do whatever it takes in order to do so. And that's where it gets scary across the board, no matter what part of the business you're in, right? Because let's be honest, like if you really wanted to scam somebody and defraud somebody, you could. It's not all that hard in real estate in general, right? You could fake a deed. I mean, we've been involved in every single one of these, and you know, it's the bad way, right? We're not the ones doing these, but like I'm saying, like we've been involved on the lending end where we did a loan for somebody who stole a property, right? They faked a deed. We've been involved in situations where somebody knew in certain counties, and I don't know if this happens everywhere, but during the foreclosure boom and early, you know, late 2000s, early like 2009, 2010, stuff like that, a lot of counties, house flippers were flipping houses and reselling them before the original deed even went on record because the recorder's office couldn't even, you know, everything was offline. It wasn't online, right? So like if you're scrupulous, you can in essence flip a house and never pay off your current lender because it was never on record. That happened to us as well, right? Multiple times, right? Where people would go, they sell a property, and then they go to resell it, and you know our name didn't show up, our deed of trust, our mortgage wasn't recorded. Be like, oh no, I don't owe any lenders. I own this thing free and clear, right? That was common. I mean, back in the day. Go ahead.
What's wild about that is you're seasoned, man. Like you're seasoned, and you've been doing this shit, and that still gets by.
And it still happens.
Yeah,
it still happens. And I mean, one of the scams back in the day in similar markets that could do this is people would go and they'd take 3 or 4 loans on a property and close on the exact same day, right? And I don't know if that would happen as well, right? So if you're a title company, and again, a lot of this risk would be more on the title company because they're issuing title insurance and things like that. But I mean, think about it. Let's say like, and not that I'm like trying to help scammers do this, like talking about it publicly, but it is public knowledge, and like people do that stuff where in essence you go try to buy a property, and then you go to like 3 different title companies and 3 different lenders, and they all pull title, and they all like, yeah, title's clean, right? And then another title company pulls title, then another title company pulls title, and then you get a lender that does them all. And if like you're a scam artist, like there's ways to do that in real estate, and some of the areas, and Salt Lake probably could have seen this a lot just because these properties 3x'd in price. I don't see a lot of this stuff in Baltimore, in the DC area. I see a lot of this happening because the DC area, you know, these guys bought these properties for $100,000 20 years ago and they're worth $1 million. Just like that. There's just so much value in it. So it's worth these scammers taking the risk to do that. But I see like, you know, fake notaries, fake deeds. And I mean, as operators and just to be like ethical citizens, like you see that stuff, you should obviously report it and check it and things like that. But even if the risk isn't on you, even if the risk is on the title company, but like shit happens. So point being, when you're in markets and there's a lot of people that are desperate, I would guess that most real estate agents, and I'm not talking about the good ones, I'm talking about like the average ones, real estate agents, mortgage brokers, probably property appraisers, things that the market just helped them. Didn't have to do anything. Like they didn't have a business. It's like, oh, I went on online and I went on MLS. I found a property and I flipped it and I made money. And then I did it again. I don't have any infrastructure. I don't have any business. I don't even know how to find deals. I just would go on MLS and I would do it. Hey, I got my real estate agent license. Next thing you know, my phone's blowing up. Hey, I'm a mortgage broker and the interest rates are 2.75%. So every mortgage broker made money because there's a refi boom. Right. But that's not like creating a business or having proper infrastructure or a backbone. So like Ian and I both know a lot of folks in the real estate industry that have made a ton of money over the last 6 years. I don't want to call them lucky. I'm not saying that they don't work hard. They absolutely work hard, but they don't have a proper infrastructure in place. And October 2022, man, the hammer hit, right? Like interest rates doubled, mortgage interest rates doubled, short-term interest rates doubled. I mean, think about what like HELOCs were. HELOCs were like 4%. Now they're like 9%, right? Everything changed. It came to a halt. There was less deals. And I saw this in 07, 08, like 05, 06, 07. Some of these guys were just freaking killing it. And I'm like, man, this is what really attracts me to real estate. And like, I wasn't all that heavy in real estate in 05, 06, 07. I owned properties and stuff like that. And I'm probably glad because I might have been irresponsible. I was early on in my career. I didn't know any better. I wouldn't have known. I wouldn't have like intentionally been irresponsible. I just, sometimes when you start slow and you learn things the right way, like if someone gave me $5 million to start my hard money lending company, like who knows what would have happened? Maybe not good. Maybe not good things. So it was like sometimes it's good that you start from scratch and you start from nothing, and you're only creating sweat equity. That's at least the way that I've seen it. I'm not saying that like, because the goal is with all of this, or at least I think for me and Ian, and I don't know if Michael, you're the same, but like the goal for us is like, cool, like let's make this world and everything easier and a better place for the next generation. So like, I would hope that I could be in a position where, my kids are interested in this and I could be some sort of, financial backing for them. I don't know if that's the right answer. I don't know if that's the best way to do it. And says, hey, by the way, I've got a lot of money. You guys want to start into real estate or you guys want to start a business, I want to be there to help you and support you, maybe as an investor. That might be the wrong answer. That's what I have in my head now. My kids are still young, but that's what I have in my head now. The right answer might be, and I know people that have very well-off parents that didn't give them $1. Maybe that is the right answer. Be like, hey, you're going to grind from scratch. So that time will tell, but that's kind of things that I know I think about. I know Ian thinks about.
Yeah, I think you could do the combination. I don't have kids yet, but I think about that too. And I think, I learned my work ethic, which is probably my mindset and my work ethics, my greatest strength for sure, outside of my core values and integrity. Because my parents had the business. So if I wanted a bike, I had to go pull weeds. I had to go I remember we'd have these pine trees and my dad would want me to go in and clean like from the bottom, between the bottom of the tree and the pot, go in there and pull out all the dead pine needles, and my arms would just be red everywhere doing it, but learning to work. So I think a couple of things with us, being good stewards of finances, but also, being good stewards of just being leaders in business and mentors is teaching the kids and the younger people. So like for me, I like that I've got my mentors and the guys that I learned from. But now the older and more seasoned I get, I realize there's a lot of younger versions of me out there. And it's my I've taken it on as my obligation, responsibility, and part of my purpose in life to be the dude that the younger version of me was looking for as a leader and as an example. So I think you can do both.
Yeah. Then acting like that, I think spills over into your business, right? Because essentially, or hopefully you're hiring people who have the same core values of you. And that spills over to your employees and your partners, and then everybody's got the same mindset. And it makes life a lot easier. I think that's really smart, just to live by your core values. Don't violate them. As long as you're not violating them, you're at peace in your life, and all is good, man. Just doing the right thing every day. And I think a lot of people become so money hungry, or they want that one thing, they throw everything else to the side, and it causes a mess in their life. But yeah, man, that's very valuable point. I mean, dude, you've been dropping bombs left and right here. I don't know if we have many more that we can get through, but we do want to ask, and we ask all of our guests this. I mean, you're very well studied. You're a part of some of the, best groups. What's one book or podcast that like changed your life, or you think everybody should know about? What do you got in that sense?
I think there's great books for different areas, and when you're doing entrepreneurship, like I think you've got like there's self-development. Give you a long answer, but self-development, people call business development and skill set development self-development, and it's not. They're two different things. So self-development is where you're working on your limiting beliefs, your thoughts, your patterns, your programming, all of this stuff that holds you back and you get in your own way. And then there's skill set development, which is like sales and mindset and shit like that. So I think there's different books for different things, but Think and Grow Rich is a staple. Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude was the first success book I ever read, which is similar to Think and Grow Rich. I think that's a great one. I love the book Relentless by Tim Grover for mindset. Bob Proctor has a book. His last book he put out before he died is Change Your Paradigm, Change Your Life. That book is straight fire. And I really like Ed Milet's book, Max Out. It's 120 pages, 110 pages. You can read it in one sitting, but that's a really good book too. There's an abundant amount of information out there, and like all the new gurus, they're just regurgitating the shit that they learned from the guys that came before them. But I think the biggest thing is actually taking action on it, because you can learn all you want, but if you're not actually doing something with it, it doesn't really matter anyways.
Yeah, that's 100% true, and we like listening to books, and there's a couple good ones in there. I definitely want to get to Ed Milet's newest book. Was that one more?
Power One More.
Power One More. Yeah,
so, dude. If you want, send me your address, and Jason too. If you're in that, I have 250 of those. I bought to go to like his book launch party. So I'll mail it to you. If you want one too, Jason, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, sure. Hell yeah. Well, I'll shoot you our addresses, man. That's awesome. Appreciate that. So, where's the best place people can find you on the internet? They want to connect with you more. They want they resonate with you, and you are what they want to be. They want to connect with you no matter where they are in the country. What's the best place to find you on the internet?
Probably on Instagram at michael.burns, BURNZ. I'm on Facebook too, Mr. Michael Burns. And then I've got my podcast, Build a Lifestyle podcast, that I'm putting out. I mean, I'm trying to do it weekly. I haven't been as consistent with that. And it's just talking about everything lifestyle, but those are the best places to find me.
Hell yeah.
I'm making all notes on these so we can make sure to put all that stuff in the show notes for you, because that's all very valuable information. Build a Lifestyle. I see it right here. Perfect.
Yeah, man.
Dude, we definitely appreciate you coming on. I know you had to carve out some time to get on here today. We appreciate that. What you're doing, what you've created, and where you're going to go here in the future is it's amazing. It's fun to watch. Look forward to seeing where you go. I'll probably be out at DM's event in June. A buddy of mine bought me a ticket and said, yo, you got to go. So hopefully I catch up with you there. And dude, appreciate having you on, bro. Really do.
Yeah, man, hit me up. I'd love to meet with you in Cleveland. And, it's great to meet you in Salt Lake. But for those of you who are listening, we talked today a lot about networking and masterminds. And I mean, I'm meeting Jason today through Ian, and Ian, because I was speaking at the event that you came at. And here we are a year later doing the podcast, and maybe we end up doing some deals. But the power of the network and hanging around just like-minded good people is really, I think, the thing that's going to get you where you want to go. So I appreciate you guys having me on the show and sharing me with your audience.
No doubt. Appreciate it, man. All right, we'll keep in touch. Thanks again.
Thanks for tuning in to the Real Estate Reserve podcast. Do us a favor and like, comment, and share our broadcast. It helps the algorithm and helps us spread the word too. Till next time, thank you for tuning in.